Assalamu alaikum and welcome to day 3 of Aqsa Week, kids. And we are so excited as we continue our journey through the lives of the prophets of Palestine. Our story today begins in a small town near Jerusalem in Palestine. There lived a wonderful prophet whose name was Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam. Now, Prophet Yaqub was special because his father was a prophet and his grandfather was a prophet of Allah. I wonder if you can guess who they might be. His father was Prophet Ishaq alayhi salam, which would make his grandfather Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. Allah had blessed Yaqub alayhi salam with many sons who he loved very, very much. And one day his youngest son Yusuf alayhi salam came to him. He told his father about a dream that he had, and in this dream he saw 11 stars, the moon and the sun, and they were all bowing down to him. Now, when Yaqub alayhi salam had this dream, he knew in his heart that there was something very special about his son Yusuf. So he told Yusuf to be careful and not to tell anyone about his dream. Now, I wonder why Yaqub alayhi salam would say that. Well, let me explain. You see, Yusuf alayhi salam was beautiful. He was very handsome. He had a beautiful heart and the most beautiful manners. He was kind and he was honest. But his brothers, they were a bit jealous of him. They were very jealous because they thought that their father loved Yusuf more than them. And because of this jealousy, which was not good, they did a terrible thing. You see, they wanted to get rid of Yusuf and they made an evil plan. So one day they came to Yaqub alayhi salam and they said that they wanted to take Yusuf out to play while they grazed the sheep. Now Yaqub alayhi salam knew too well just what their sons were like. He knew that the brothers were jealous of him. But the brothers had kept insisting, they're like, please let us take him out to play. We promise to look after him. So Yaqub alayhi salam reluctantly agreed. Now the brothers took Yusuf far away from their home and then they did their plan. They threw him into the well. They went back home and they told Yaqub alayhi salam that Yusuf had in fact been eaten by a wolf. They even gave Yaqub alayhi salam Yusuf's shirt which they had soaked in animal blood. They even pretended to cry. They even pretended to be sad. Now Yaqub alayhi salam knew that his sons were not telling the truth. But he loved Allah, he trusted Allah, and he knew no matter what, Allah will always do what's best. In the meantime, Yusuf was stuck in this well. But something was about to happen that would change his life forever. As he was in this well, some travellers were travelling by and they stopped at the well for water. Now, when they pulled out the bucket, they were expecting a bucket full of water. Instead, they got this beautiful little boy, Yusuf. They were amazed. They couldn't believe their eyes. What luck, they thought. They took Yusuf with them and they left Palestine and they went to another country called Egypt. There, they sold Yusuf as a slave. They sold him to the governor of Egypt. So Yusuf grew up in Egypt as a slave to the governor. He grew up to be a handsome young man, but things were about to take a turn. The governor's wife told a terrible lie, and because of this lie, Yusuf had to end up in jail, in prison. This was a test from Allah. While in prison, Yusuf would spend his time remembering Allah. He would also tell the prisoners about Allah. Allah gifted him that he could tell the meaning of dreams. The king of Egypt had a dream. Now this dream was very unusual and very worrying. He found the dream very strange, but nobody could tell him the meaning of the dream. What did this dream mean? He didn't know. So somebody told him about this young man Yusuf in prison who can tell him the meaning of dreams. Now when Yusuf heard this dream, he told the king the meaning of the dream. He told the king that a very hard time was going to come to the people of Egypt. He told the king for the 7 years there's going to be plenty of food for everyone, lots of food. But the 7 years after that, there's going to be a shortage, very little food. This will be a famine. He advised the king that he should save the food for the hard times to come. Otherwise, people will be poor and people will be hungry. The king was so happy with Yusuf that he told Yusuf that he was free to leave prison. Yusuf had spent many years in prison and now he was free. He managed to clear his name and prove that he was innocent. The king was so impressed by Yusuf that he gave Yusuf a very important job, which was to be in charge of the food storehouses in Egypt. This was a job that was very important, but it's a huge responsibility, and Yusuf alayhi salam was the right person for it. You see, Allah had blessed him with knowledge and wisdom, and he was able to prepare for this famine. The famine hit Egypt just like Yusuf alayhi salam had said. There was a huge shortage of food, but the famine also hit Palestine. And if you remember, Yusuf's family, his brothers, his father were still in Palestine. So Yusuf's brothers came from Palestine to Egypt to buy food. They visited the food storehouses. They didn't realise that the governor was actually their little brother, Yusuf. But Yusuf knew straight away that it was his brothers. He was so happy to see his brothers, but he didn't tell them who he was. After several visits, he finally told his brothers that he was in fact their little brother Yusuf that they had thrown into the well. Yusuf was such a beautiful person with a kind heart that he forgave his brothers. Eventually, all of Yusuf's family, including his father, Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam, moved to Egypt to be with Yusuf alayhi salam. In the meantime, Masjid Al-Aqsa was left alone. The masjid became neglected, people began to forget Allah, and the masjid was becoming crumbled, falling apart, and left in ruins. In Egypt, Yaqub alayhi salam's family grew. It grew into a big community. These people were known as Bani Israel. They enjoyed their time in Egypt, but something very bad was about to happen, which would mean that they would have to leave Egypt and go to Palestine, head back to Palestine. I wonder what this bad thing was. And what about Masjid Al-Aqsa? This is something we're going to find out tomorrow. So just quickly, what do we learn from the story of Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam? The first thing that we learn is jealousy. We're learning about jealousy again. That is not good. So we should take it out of our heart because it might make us do something bad. Number 2, we learn about trust. Trusting Allah, no matter what happens. Sometimes things don't go the way we want. It's okay. Allah's got a plan that we don't know about. And remember, sometimes we might think something bad has happened, but Allah has put some goodness in it. And number 3, we learn about forgiveness. After everything Yusuf alayhi salam's brothers did to him, he forgave them. We should forgive too. We should forgive people. It's a quality that Allah loves. We shouldn't hold on to grudges, and we should move on. I hope you've enjoyed today's story, and I hope you enjoyed today's worksheets. Thank you, and inshallah, I'll see you tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum.